Hello and welcome. It is Deck Tech time once again. I'm joined by Michael Majors. Welcome.
Thank you.
I want to introduce you as sort of up-and-coming player, but you've kind of up and came at this point. It's what, 11 Pro Tours for you?
I think that's right, yeah.
You know, a steady string of success at the Pro Tour level, and at the Open Series level, you've just been crushing it as well, including with this Green-White Megamorph deck.
That's right.
Now, tell me about that, because we like to think of the Pro Tour as the debut of this format, but there usually are a couple big standard tournaments. I mean, the Star City Opens, and you kind of almost won one of those.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago in Indianapolis, I got second place. I'm working with a team.
The team that has no name. We can get into that.
Formerly known as TCG Player.
For the record, we sent out a runner. We're like, look, you guys got to give us a name. And so the word came back that the name of the team would be whatever people voted for the most. Because we have the players fill out a slip at the beginning of the tournament. You know, what's your team name? So the majority vote, what did you put on your slip?
BMK Gaming.
That was the winner. Yeah. Apparently, they're now Team BMK Gaming, Kibler's team.
That's right.
He gets his own team. He just joined you guys. Anyway, so you've been testing with that team. You know, Ari Lax, Brad Nelson, a lot of great players on that team. And I mean, this Green-White deck, this is kind of Kibler's deck from the last Pro Tour season, right?
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so yeah, walk me through that process.
Okay, so like you said, at PT Origins, Brian Kibler played this Green-White deck that we unfortunately kind of ignored. He was the only one that ended up playing it, and he went 9-1 in Constructed. So, you know, clearly the deck had legs. And testing for this Pro Tour, we'd done a lot of testing online before we actually, met up in person. And a lot of people on the team were really high on this Abzan aggro deck that got to utilize a bunch of battle lands and played 4 colors and lightly splash blue. And just because of the fact there were like 8 or 9 of us at the tournament and like 6 or 7 of us are on Abzan aggro, I just decided to play a different deck. I'd played a little bit with like a Green-White Megamorph.
This is the Star City tournament.
Correct.
Yeah.
In our testing. And I thought the deck was like pretty good, but I wasn't sure how good. So I just decided to, diversify our testing a little bit. So I decided to enter the tournament with this Green-White Megamorph deck, and it turns out the deck's just really good.
Yeah, so you make it all the way to the finals.
That's right.
You do come up second, but now all of a sudden Green-White Megamorph is everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's your fault. We can blame you.
It's my fault.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about it, because this deck has been everywhere, both at the Open Circuit coming in, and there is plenty of it in the room. It's clearly one of the defining decks of the standard right now. This combo is just great, right?
Yep. This is the big problem. This is what defined at least a significant portion of standard in the last season. Den Protector Deathmiss Raptor just gives your aggressive decks, gives your control decks this very strong, sticky, resilient package. Lets your cheap spells be extremely powerful because you can return them over and over to Den Protector, and your opponent's like traditional removal spells and sweepers just aren't that effective because you can just keep returning these Deathmiss Raptors and attacking them.
Makes sense. Yeah, we've seen that. We're going to keep seeing it for a little while, it sounds like.
That's right.
All right, let's look at the next batch of cards. So here's kind of the bottom of the mana curve.
Yep.
Why this particular curve?
So I played 4 Warden in the first tree and 4 Hangerback Walker in Indy. And a thing that we liked, especially in week 1, was that a lot of people would be messing around with these like complex mana bases where you'd be playing lots of tap lands and taking a bunch of damage from their fetches. So we thought that Warden in the first tree would be this really punishing creature in this consistent 2-color deck that can curve out effectively. And you'd hit them for like 9 or whatever if you're on the play before they even played a spell. Unfortunately, the metagame's evolved a little bit and people kind of figured it out. So to fit this card on the right, Avatar the Resolute, I actually had to shave a Warden, even though Warden's still powerful. And Hangerback Walker is just one of the best cards in the deck. Again, it's just a very resilient creature. That's kind of like the theme of the deck.
Sure. Yeah, Hangerback's great. I want to focus a little more on the Avatar just because that's a card that has been around for a while, but hasn't seen a ton of play.
Well, in combination with Hangerback Walker, you can clearly see that there's synergy there, but Avatar the Resolute, so the deck is pretty vulnerable to flyers. Cards like Thunderbreak Regent, Mana Strider, even just like Thopter tokens.
So in a lot of ways, it's a reaction to the Jeskai Menace.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So something that Jeskai can do is just play a turn 3 Mana Strider and kind of just ignore what you're doing and just hit you over and over again and just kill your 1 or 2 relevant creatures. But once you play Avatar, they're kind of brick-walled.
That makes sense. Let's look at some more cards. Now the top end of the mana curve, I guess.
So Nissa, to someone just looking at the deck, you say, well, it's this green-white aggressive deck, and they're just trying to attack and kill you. So why do I want this like Borderland Ranger-esque card? But something that the deck does very well is use its mana every turn. And you really actually want to get to 5, 6, 7, even 8 or 9 mana over the course of the game.
Sure.
So it fills a nice spot on your curve, it attacks and blocks when it's necessary, and when she flips, she's incredibly powerful and lets you hang with control decks even.
Got it.
And Wingmate Rock over here, I played 3 in Indy, and most lists probably still playing 3. But again, kind of a nod towards the Avatar of the Resolute. I had to cut something.
Okay.
And in a lot of my sideboard configurations, I'm shaving on Wingmate Rocks anyways, because people are pretty well prepared for that card.
Okay.
But it's still just an incredibly powerful top. And whenever you curve out with Gideon, we'll get into that in a second,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Wingmate Rock's awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about Gideon.
All right.
Because he seems like... there we go. There's a slide missing. There's a slide missing that has exactly Gideon.
Okay.
Picture Gideon. You've seen him. He's the ally of Zendikar, and got to be the big new addition since Kibler first put this deck together, right?
Exactly. In my mind, easily the best card in Battle for Zendikar. Gideon, whenever you play him on the actual play, you make a knight, your opponent's on the back foot, and then basically what I've been doing most of the time is just plussing him and attacking people. And he just puts a ton of pressure on people with his 5/5 Indestructible. In combination with Dromoka's command, it's very easy to get him to fight basically anything your opponent has and kill it. Even the emblem ability, sometimes you'll just play Gideon and immediately make it into a glorious anthem, essentially. Incredibly powerful card.
Fair enough. Let's talk about some of the other spells in the deck. We saw this flash through because I forgot the order the slides were in. Dromoka's command seems like another great reason to want to be in Green-White.
Yep, staple of the deck. Like I said, one of the big draws about Den Protector is just having cheap spells. And since Dromoka's command actually goes to your graveyard, unlike some of these enchantments, you can be easily reused over the course of the game. Very versatile. It's a powerful card.
Yeah, and I mean, I see the 2 Silk Wraps here. If you guys have been paying attention all day, we keep seeing Silk Wrap.
Yep.
It's not new. It's not like it's in Battle for Zendikar, but it feels somehow like this new addition to the format. Nobody was playing it.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden, it's just... I mean, you tell me. It seems like it's got this perfect spot against Hangerback, but then it can also answer a Jace.
Right, so... Again, when I previously played the deck, I played just a bunch of Valorous stances because I expected a bunch of Abzan Siege Reiner decks.
Sure.
But now that the format has somewhat evolved, you could say, where with this deck and Jeskai are well positioned in the metagame. Silk Wrap's awesome. Like you said, it kills Jace. It exiles Deathmist Raptor.
Yep.
Gets rid of Hangerback Walker. It's a good card.
Makes sense. Is there more cards? The lands, right. So you've got your basic fetch land, battle land, mana base here. Yeah, 12 fetches. Pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead to the next batch of lands. It's always interesting to see exactly how these decks have gotten configured. It's a lot more complicated in some of these deck techs.
Right.
Pretty straightforward in this one.
Yeah, I'm making your job pretty easy here. It's just 12 fetches because I want my mana to be as good as possible because I have double white spells and also I need green on turn 2 for Avatar of the Resolute. It's pretty straightforward.
Nice. So you expect this deck to be around. You obviously, the cat was a little bit out of the bag after Indy. Everybody kind of knew about the deck. You still felt like this is the deck to run this weekend?
Yeah, I just couldn't find anything better, honestly. Over the course of the last week, I kind of regretted playing this deck at the Star City, but, so it goes.
Well, the team wasn't even on the deck, right? This was just you saying, I'll take what wasn't the team's best deck at the time and see how it does. Now, how much of the team actually wound up on this deck this weekend?
I believe there are 4 or 5 of us. There's some last-minute audibling that I'm not 100%
right, but
sure.
the team is what, 15-ish?
17, actually.
17. Yes. So the majority of the team said, I don't want to play this because it's got a target on its forehead?
I think a lot of it was that, and maybe they wanted something a little bit more explosive, or it wasn't their style.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Even Kibler walked away. I know Brian is not a fan of playing decks that are expected. He likes to play the green decks when everyone else thinks you can't win with green. If everybody's targeting, he tends to zig a little bit when everyone else expects him to zag. So still like the deck, still good. What are the bad matchups? What is the fear of how people are going to beat you?
Well, I don't really want to play against the mirror. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer.
Sure.
But dragon decks are kind of difficult. Again, like the Avatar was a big nod to the fact that the deck has a natural weakness to flying creatures. So even though I've taken some steps to address that, it's still not something I actively want to play against. Esper Dragons can be a little bit difficult. The Atarka Red deck, even though I don't really think my matchup is horrendous, it's just so scary to play against that I don't really want to play against.
Everybody's scared of that deck. Like, I haven't had anybody say, feed me the Atarka Red deck. No one says that.
They can just kill you on turn 3.
Indeed. Well, there you go. Green-White Megamorph, definitely one of the big decks coming into the Pro Tour. Now, we'll see what happens over the course of these last 10 rounds. Is it still going to be on top of the metagame come Sunday? Well, Michael's hoping it will be. Anyway, definitely a deck to understand if you want to understand Standard. Stay tuned, guys. We'll have more right after this.